yesterday, and I have to say it again. It's so amazing to be back here after 2 years without events. It's truly coming back to Comic-Con, where all these fans of both franchises such as Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, everyone just gets together and shares this passion and love that we have for all these amazing worlds. And it's like meeting family again, am I right? This reunition together is amazing, and I'm so happy to be here with all of you and get to share these moments. I'm not gonna keep you on too long. We will, of course, have a Q&A, just as we did yesterday. I've seen some familiar faces from yesterday as well. And short reminders, one question per person only. Try and keep it to that. Try and go directly to your question. I know that in a lot of cases we want to compliment our favorite actors and so on, but you know, there's a person behind you that probably waited a long time to ask the question as well, so we try and go straight towards the questions. No personal requests of like, hey, wish my dog or my cat happy birthday, or you could ask about the favorite potato dish. Just saying, but more than that, we'll try and keep it plain and simple. Without further ado, I'm not even gonna introduce this person because he provided us with a video that does it so much better than I ever could. So, Patrick, that's your cue. The man of the hour that brought me. Thank you all. Just like, no, this is awkward.
That was my little brother. I was holding it up so he could. You were screaming for my brother Mackenzie, so thank you. That's it.
Yes, of course. Welcome back. I'm so happy that you could join us for today as well. That was not the original plan.
Kimberly, I said to our hosts, if there's
Yeah, no, sorry, I'm not.
Well, no, what I said was if there's anything that I can do to spend more time with Kim on stage, I'll do it. And they said, okay, if you wash the dishes. So I washed dishes for the whole hotel last night just so we can have this moment. And it's worth it.
If anyone of you got that on camera, talk to me later. It's truly an honor to have you back. How was your first day here at Comic-Con?
It was great. It was great. You know, So how many were here yesterday?
Yeah.
So this is a continuation. How many people have come up and got with an autograph? And how about a picture? Who's come up and had a picture? Oh my gosh. How many people are coming back tomorrow? I hope to see you tomorrow then. Basically, the people in Sweden. Now this is a compliment. Yeah, but it's not going to seem like a compliment, but it is a compliment. We like the idea that we are connected to each other, right?
Yeah.
That you're connected to each other, you're connected to me. We, on a human level, are connected to people all over Scandinavia, all throughout the world, right? So the compliment I'm trying to pay is, and remember, this is the first convention that I've done in 2 years. People who come to these conventions have a lot in common. They have a certain spirit, you know, a certain well, now you're making me think of the words geek and nerd and but no, there's just an ethos to people who like science fiction, fantasy, comic books, graphic novels, you know, certain kinds of, like there's just a certain way that people are. And to me, I said this yesterday, it's like, it's very familiar, it's very comforting to be like, you're my people. So it's nice to be in Sweden, to be with Swedish people and my Comic-Con people, and it was lovely. Yeah, and I wasn't too tired, even after traveling all the way from America on a split-second notice. And I got my homework done for my master's class, so... Right? Yeah. Well, there's more for tomorrow, so I have to go home soon. But yeah, it was lovely. Long answer to a short question. And I got to meet you, so...
Thank you.
Yeah.
I got to meet you, so I'm just happy about that. But it's, as you say, returning to Comic-Con is like a family. It's our selective family. It might not be the one that we were born with, but it's our selective family. And that's really magical.
Well, and anyone can opt in.
Yes, exactly. Everyone's welcome.
Everyone's welcome, and yet so many people don't understand.
Yeah.
It's amazing over the 20 years that I've really been doing these, it's more of a family experience. When I first started doing them, really Star Trek was the only convention type thing that happened regularly that was sort of known around the world. And then Lord of the Rings came along and lots of other franchises and the Harry Potter franchise and then Walking Dead was a big thing. Doctor Who was a big thing. Like we started, yeah. But watching those, each new franchise that connected with a world cultural audience would grow the Comic-Cons by such a percent. And it went from being those weirdos, you know, who dress up all the time and that's bizarre, to Big Bang Theory, where the #1 comedy on television throughout the whole world vaunted, you know, the Comic-Con world. So, but that like individuality, that self-expression that exists among our people, you know, is like we get it. We're there. We know something other people don't know,
yeah.
And they're all welcome. And over time, they'll come and they will learn. But the idea of reading and connecting your imagination then to cultural, you know, to movies or TV or, you know, comic books, whatever, like, I remember, okay, so when I got back from New Zealand, they said, you know, what are you going to do? Orlando Bloom was going to go be in all these big movies, and I said, I got Daredevil. You guys know Daredevil?
Yeah.
Okay, so Daredevil, so I auditioned for Foggy. So I didn't know, and John, who was just on Rudy, my friend, was like, who's the wild man now? That's John Favreau, who then went on to direct some Marvel movies you might have heard. Iron Man, he's the one, like, first director of the big franchise that I got. But anyway, he got the part, so he beat me up. He was playing Rudy's friend in Rudy, the football movie I did, and then next thing you know, he's like starting these good movies. But I went and got the comic books, the Daredevil comics, and I had never read them before. And I realized that I didn't read comics when I was a kid at all because I think, you know what ADD is here? You guys know about attention deficit disorder? Okay, so I was never diagnosed with ADD, but I should have been. I think I was just old enough or just young enough to sort of miss the formal science, the medical diagnosis. But I think I couldn't concentrate along the different panels. My mind, like my brain would skip and I'd want to go back to the words, and then I would read the words, but then it wasn't satisfying because it didn't finish a thought. And so the thought bubbles and I just didn't like it. So I remember sitting in my friend's backyard in the flats of the San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles, which was really kind of like a desert. And I started looking at the Daredevil, and something psycho-spiritual happened, where all of a sudden I went into the comic book. It was a moment where, and there's like, I don't know if it's dopamines in the mind, I don't know if it's just adrenaline or what it is, but the level of excitement that I had, that like, it was like taking a drug and going to another place. I was 32 years old, I never had that experience. So like, people come to Comic-Cons have had something like that experience. Maybe not as like acute as what I had, and other people in the world, they don't know, they haven't had it yet. So we're like inside hippie drug culture in the 60s, like, hey man, we know things about comics. So yeah.
You did, however, mention Star Trek a little bit.
Yeah.
Are you a Trekkie?
Okay, so I'm sure you guys have seen that early footage of George Lucas doing the camera over the Death Star and like, you know, the miniatures, and all of a sudden that was the first time where behind the scenes things, like that's when I knew I wanted to be a filmmaker, was watching that stuff. And a lot of people have watched the Lord of the Rings behind the scenes and they have the same experience. But I had been on movie and television sets my whole life because my parents are actors. But to me, and now I knew where Leonard Nimoy was, and I had seen him on the show. So to me, it wasn't like this other world. That's Leonard Nimoy's house. And then we would get the toys. My brothers were all Trekkies, older brothers, and the toys were cheesy, terrible, like the Enterprise. And I remember, like, and then you watch the show. I watched the show, and all I could see when I would watch the show is like the strings. You know, the sets looked so cheesy. The acting, you know, he was so over the top, you know. Kirk is over the top. He's not set phasers for stuff. Like, I didn't get it. It just seemed fake to me. So when we were doing Lord of the Rings, we were down in the South Island, the bottom of the South Island, Queenstown, I was talking about yesterday. Incredible place. We actually did Tiana, which is like almost as far south, or at least as we went. I don't know how much further south of the island went, but it was south. And we went into a shop, kind of a bookstore, and my wife and daughter were shopping up front, and I was just wondering, and I got into the back, and I was so fat, you know, I was so fat. My weight changed over the course of Lord of the Rings, and there was times where I was more fit and times where I was super fat. This was one of the fat times. So it was more comfortable to look at the books on the shelf sitting down on the floor. So I sat down on the floor, and I was looking at A Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, and I saw a book with Arthur C. Clarke, and it was non-fiction essays that Arthur C. Clarke wrote. So I'm like, literally, if I was fat, I wouldn't have discovered this. But I pull it out. Oh no, I also had Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. But anyhow, so I open it up, and I start reading his non-fiction essays, and he predicted, like 40 years before the space program, when people would be going into outer space and when humans would land on the moon and Mars. He had it, and you could tell, like, oh, so his fiction is what he was doing to fill his time while waiting for the terrestrial mechanics of building platforms to come into being. And now I would have that experience later when I would go to the Jet Propulsion Lab in California, and like where they're steering the Mars rover, and they're like, "Oh, would you like to steer the Mars rover?" And I'm like, "Really? I can steer the Mars rover?" They're like, "No, but we'll let you play with the model." So, and all of them were Trekkie fans, the JPL scientists, and they were Lord of the Rings fans. And you're like, when do these people, these genius people who are going to like save the species by projecting us onto other planets, when do they have the time to like fall in love with Star Trek or fall in love with Lord of the Rings? And you realize that they will launch something, and then it takes them like 17 years before it gets there. So they have a lot of time on their hands to be working on new things. So it was during the Arthur C. Clarke time that I realized that I had not allowed my imagination, that I was trapped in this world. And so from that time in 2000, like middle of 2000, until now, I've had this fantasy of lining up all of the Star Treks, all the different series, Next Generation, whatever, and watching it all from the beginning with my newfound, like, imaginative instrument in place. So I absolutely worship Star Trek in theory. In practice, I don't speak Klingon. I don't think I could, like, do you remember West Wing? Did you guys ever watch the TV show West Wing? Yeah? No? Okay, so there's just this great scene where one of the president's aides sees that one of the people working in the White House is trying to promote a Star Trek holiday as like an American, government national holiday. And he sort of belittles her. And she's so offended that she's gonna like go to his supervisor to say, in America, the idea is you're supposed to have religious liberty. And not just for religion, but freedom of ideas, free speech, free thought, whatever. And here she was, expressing herself in this way, and she was being, by the government, kind of looked down on as when she looked at his treatment of her. And at the end of the episode, he comes over and he sits down with her after everyone's gone home, and she's like, doesn't really want to talk to him when she's at her computer. And he starts asking her questions. Would a Romulan mate with a whatever? Would this person talk to whatever? And he starts going through these really like deep layered Trekkie things, and she's sort of following along. He's like, it's a fetish. It's gotten to a place in your life where you're allowed to have your fetishes. You just can't bring them to the workplace. And her feelings were hurt that even though he was kind of right, but then he said something, I can't remember exactly how it ends, but he was like, basically, keep doing your work that you're doing, and I'll help you try and get that Trek holiday as like I'll help you with that. So to me, it was it's like societal acceptance of that, like at the highest military level. The presidency controls the military. So, long answer to a short question.
Right, I do want to take a few questions from the audience as well. A reminder, again, one question per person only. Try and keep it short so as many as possible can actually ask their question. We have a staircase in the middle where we will line up. We also have some crew that will help you out. So should we just go ahead with the first person, Maya?
Trying to think of a melody for you.
Sorry?
I'm trying to think of a melody for you. Kimberly, her name is Kimberly. I like to speak with Kimberly. I'll work on it.
Yeah, a little bit. It's still a week until my birthday, so I have the expectations. I'm gonna call you up, and this is done by then, right?
Yeah. No. In a week, I'll still be here.
All right, cool. So we'll get to
I'll come to your house.
Perfect. Oh, I
with 10 or 12 of my friends, and we'll stand outside. And do you have Christmas caroling in Sweden? Yeah, we'll do birthday caroling for you.
I'll make sure to have that sausage stew and potatoes for you.
Yes. Very good. Sausages. I have to take it.
Hi, welcome.
Yeah, hi. Yesterday you talked about shortly about your helicopter rides in New Zealand, and I was wondering, what was your reactions to seeing Sean Bean walking up the mountains for the first time?
So, Sean Bean played 006 in James Bond. James Bond was 007, Agent 007, he played 006, and he was a bad guy, kind of a foil, right? Had to die, because that's what Sean Bean does. I die and everything too. Nobody says I'm the guy who dies. I have like 7 on-screen deaths that are like, with a, nobody cares. So, Elijah Wood and I were in one of our dressing rooms in Queenstown, and there was a problem. There had been a flood, a 100-year flood, and it had wiped out some of the sets that they had built. So they were trying to figure out what they were going to do. So they decided they rented a squash court at a hotel, adjacent to a hotel, like a tennis court, for a year. They walked in and said, "We'd like to rent this for a year." And great, they put down the money and they rented it because they built some rocks for Frodo and Sam and Gollum to be climbing on. But then when the sets, we went out and filmed them and went back, and they said, "Oh yeah, 8 months from now we're going to be back here." And they just left the rocks on the squash court. But anyway, so while they were building these rocks for us to climb on, Elijah and I were playing James Bond on Sega, maybe? Is it Sega? Shh. So I played 006, and Elijah was 007, and so we're chasing each other in the video game, trying to kill each other, and at a certain point, he corners me, boom, my head explodes, and I pat my character, my avatar, my 006 avatar, which is Sean Bean's face that's been scanned into it, collapses, and I go, oh, and then we look up, and walking in front of our door was Sean Bean. I'd never met him before. I wanted to be like, hey, you just got shot, and then he's terrified of flying, right? My favorite thing was flying in the helicopters. And so that he did not have to fly in the helicopters, he would walk up, for those of you seeing the thing, he would get up at 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning, and start walking up the mountain. And then we would wake up, at 11 in the morning, we would fly up and meet him. So he already had a 12-hour day or whatever. But I felt bad for him. He was not, his fear was so great that it wasn't amusing yet to me. You felt for him. You felt for him. And you could tell as the day would go on, because they would sling little food to us. Underneath the helicopter, they would have a net, and they would drop off, a barbecue, and they would drop off, food or whatever, camera equipment, they would just keep coming. So, kind of like this perpetual work site. But we're on the top of the mountain the whole time. And you can see as the afternoon is coming, 4, 5, 6 o'clock, the sun's about to go behind the mountain, and you can see him start to get nervous. Because there's only, will they release him early enough? Will they say, we've got our last shot with you for today, Sean, so you can start walking back down the mountain. And if it got past, 4 or 5 o'clock, then he wouldn't be able to get down before it was dark. And so maybe he would have to fly in the helicopter. So there was I wasn't exactly sure what those dynamics were, but I could tell that this man was not happy to be in this. And then they would all drink. But anyhow, I love Sean. Yeah.
I'm realizing we have a lot of people that want to ask questions today, so we will need to keep it to yes or no questions.
And we're already there today, we're already at that spot.
We don't have to.
And I have been given, on every medium known to man, some iconography related to the story from hand-drawn images of Rosie and Sam on individual grains of rice that were meant to be thrown at weddings. Who would have thought that you could do this? And I'm like, do you cook it? Do you eat it? Like, what do you, I don't know what to do. I really did not like pop figures, the Funko Pops, until I started seeing the different variations of Sam and some of the other movies. I think I'm like 8 pops now. And so there's a kind of commerciality look to them that I think I resisted, but I actually love them. They're like one of the only things I have in my office are like the different pop figures with the windows, you know. So I love autographing those. So many things. My favorite, the earliest one was the Pewter Games Workshop tabletop figurines. And the people who designed it, I got to go, I was maybe in Belgium. I don't know where I was. I think it might have been Belgium, maybe it was Germany. Anyhow, I went to their offices or whatever, their factory, and I could see the workstation where the person was who designed mine. And he had pictures of me from the movie, not from the movie that you're watching, but from like the set, you know, like the still cover. And he had all these different pictures of me, like a stalker, you know, like. And he had dental tools, little saws, and little drills and things. And he spent like 6 weeks carving my face into this tiny little creature. And it was pretty realistic. When I looked at it, I could see myself. And I remember holding it in my hand, and it was like another one of these experiences, kind of, you know, hallucination, where I felt like I went inside of the character, looking back up at me normal. And it was the first time I thought, even though it was after we finished making movies, it was the first time I felt like a hobbit. So, but there's a million things. Well, I'll answer this question at different conventions for the next 50 years. You let me know when I finally get to one that sounds right.
Thank you. Thank you.
So honored. Since you and I are the same age, my favorite childhood movie is obviously The Goonies.
Of course.
Was it obvious for you to start acting in that movie because of your parents, or did you have any other plans?
My father helped me with the audition. I think my parents were very famous. I keep saying this over and over again, but they were aware, the casting director was aware of that. It was actually my parents' agent who submitted me. So at that time, in the 80s, there were like 20 kids who were working regularly in movies and TV. The industry was so small, so we knew each other. I knew River Phoenix, you know, I knew Ethan Hawke, we knew Corey Feldman, yeah, you know, we know all these. So we'd go to an audition and you'd see each other, you know, and then like, oh, this week I'm going for the lead part, and next week you're going for the lead, you know, you just kind of like, you do it. So, but my father worked on the audition with me, and one of the scenes, you can actually see the audition. You can actually see it if you Google it. I put it up when, I think, was it after Dick Donner passed away, the director, or maybe it was for something during COVID, maybe, I don't know, but I put it up there. I'm such a spaz. But they were supportive. My mom really wanted me to do it. My father, he always wanted to make sure that I still was, that my academic life was still, you know, rigorous. You know, he was very much higher education, you know, that's what he wanted. So, but one of the audition scenes was a scene that isn't in the movie where Mikey talks about when, I can't remember who he's talking to, but he's talking about the time of this story that his parents always tell him, where his dad and his mom went to Hollywood and they were going to be on The Price is Right. Remember The Price is, you guys know The Price is Right? Yeah. So what's behind door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3? And Mikey just tells a story about how his dad was so excited because he was going to win something and be able to take care of the family. And he decided on door number 2, and they opened it up, and it was 2,000 toothpicks. And then when Mikey tells the story, he's like, you just can't like. So my dad helped me work on that scene. 17, when I came back from the audition, he said, how'd you do? I said, I messed up. He said, impossible. I said, I messed up. I kept missing up the words. I had to start over. He was like, it's impossible, Sean. You were so prepared for it. I was like, I don't think I was. So I thought I was going to go to work on another audition because there was a time when there was a bunch of shows. And by the time I got home, they called me, I got the offer. So my dad was like, I told you. So,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
So we will need to head into a lightning round straight away. So everyone in the line.
All right, here you go,
Yes,
fast.
questions only.
So have you read this film earlier? And if you have, who's your favorite ballad?
Yes and no only.
First four pages, 15 times, can't get past it. No favorite character, unless Samwise gets talked about a lot, and then I'll go with Samwise.
Hey again. I heard like Lord of the Rings fan that like the greatest insult ever is like you're more worthless than a shoe shop in a shop.
I'm sorry, we need to get to the question right away.
Yeah, so your birthday is it really a big offensive statement?
Well, yes. Yeah. Affinity. I have affinity with you.
Yeah.
Hi, I've had a crush on you since Toy Soldiers. I know, this is not a yes or no question, I haven't thought of any. Well, apart from Sam, what other characters from Lord of the Rings would like to
Aragorn.
play, yes or no?
Aragorn.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Hi, really quick. As a person with AD, I've always wondered if having this one character like Sam, you're being recognized the most for him. How does that affect you and your other
I'm
actors?
sorry, yes and no only. No other questions.
Okay, I'll answer this question very quickly. It's warming to have that fed back to me all the time.
Wonderful, thank you.
We need to cut really quick. Yes and no only.
Okay.
Pineapples and pizza, yes or no?
Pineapple pizza, yes or no?
1000% yes. That's coming from Raphael and Ninja Turtle.
Okay, so my question is, was it funny when Aragorn wrote the thing and he broke his mouth? So,
Yes.
Okay, so the rings are quite dark. But there's some light, but they're quite dark. Did it get dark for you to film them during a long period?
To film the witch, did you catch that?
The Lord of the Rings. To film the whole franchise.
If it was fun to film the Lord of the Rings
If it
franchise.
got kind of dark time for you to film them after a while. Yeah.
So help me, what is she saying? What are you saying? You get it?
No.
It's hard to track what you're saying from over here.
Sorry.
Just say it, talk loud and slow.
So the Lord of the Rings were quite dark movies.
Oh, dark movies, yeah.
Did it get depressing for you to play Sam?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. Yeah, it was a lot more than I would have thought. It was a lot more depressing than I would have thought. It actually, the depression came into, not just Sam, it came into Sean. So it took a lot to recover from that, yeah. It was also wonderful too, but yeah.
Do you find it interesting and joyful to play these super nice and kind characters like Super Bob in Stranger Things?
The last part, say it louder and slower.
Do you enjoy and find it interesting to play the super nice and super kind characters like Super Bob in Stranger Things?
Like Super Bob, got it. Bob Newby, superhero, got it. I would say yes, because it comes so naturally to me.
You still have the netted tank top from 51st Dates.
A man paid me $150, or he donated to my charity, if he could have a picture with me in that shirt. I can't find that shirt. So I owe him $150 for it. Anyway, yeah.
Thanks.
Do you or do you not have a scar on your foot after you stepped on glass that one time?
Is that a question about a tattoo?
No, about the scar on...
Speak slowly and loudly.
Do you or do you not have a scar from after you stepped on that glass shard?
Oh, no. The glass, you're asking if I have a scar from the glass shard from the scene we filmed going in the lake.
Yeah.
I can't see it. I asked my wife at one point to look at it and she was like, no.
Okay, thank you.
If you could play your favorite character from any TV show or film that you weren't in, would you? Okay,
so first of all, the light is in my eyes, so I can't see you really well, but you look like Greta. A different color hair maybe. If I could play say it again.
Your favorite character from a film or TV show that you were not in?
Oh, like Han Solo? Franchises we were talking about at the beginning, sort of developing my imagination, I only loosely referred to Star Wars, but Star Wars is my childhood. It's a movie that, so it's been amazing to get to know, Mark Hamill a little bit, and now we communicate with each other. I feel like something in Star Wars, not Jar Jar Binks. Question? No, you're just looking cool. Can you ask me a last question?
Have you had fun during this event and has it been a good experience?
That's two questions. She made a rule one question. And then being elected to the board. And then my academic life, my master's degree, has been so intense. And then now that we're starting to come out of COVID, I went and made a movie in Louisiana, and the experience was so intense. And now, with 1 hour warning, I basically agreed to come to Sweden, and I get on a plane and fly 12,000 miles, it's like a really special moment for me. The last 2 years has been this calm. And now this moment, this last week, 2 week, month or something like that. So I feel like I'm here with all of you people, and it's like my brain is alive and my heart is happy and open, and I like you and you're nice and it's fun and so I will carry away from it. I'm coming tomorrow, so there's plenty of time to ruin this. I know a lot of you have not gotten an autograph yet, so I fully expect to see you in that line tomorrow. But I will carry away from this moment, and I also am planning to stay in the country for a little bit of time. I'm getting a house, and I'm going to spend when I'm working so in my mind, I'll remember this time for the rest of my life. Hopefully I live a long life, but I will remember this time at 50 years old, after COVID, coming to this, my first convention in 2 years. This is a beautiful, beautiful memory for me, an experience for me. So, and the best thing is Kim.
Thank you.
And basically there's 3 boys, 3 bachelors behind the wall, and then the girl would sit there, bachelor number 1, if you took me on a date, where would we go? And the 3 boys answer the question like idiots, and she chooses, I choose bachelor number 1. At the end of every show, it was a goofy show. At the end of every show, what was his name? I can't remember the host, but anyway, all right, let's give a big dating game, kiss goodbye, and all of the bachelors and the bachelorette, and then would blow kiss like this. So you give me a dating game, kiss goodbye, okay?